Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. There's about 10 minutes until the stock market opens today. So I know some of you are in the habit of joining me live right at the open. And chances are you didn't see on Discord that I was going to start a little bit early today. You'll understand in just a minute why I am starting early. I've got to go through three collar trade adjustments that we made last night. Sent those out so that you could execute those at the open of the market this morning, although you may have got them before the market closed yesterday. Let's first just check on futures because, like I said, we're still over 9 minutes away from when the stock market will actually open this morning. But futures are all pointing up, and it's largely on this announcement made by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Dow up 263, S&P up 32, NASDAQ up 130. This is all pre-market stuff. It may or may not play out, and even if the market opens this way, it won't necessarily remain this way all throughout the trading day. You never know. You never know what can or will happen. But this is, yesterday the markets got spooked by an increase in Treasury rates, especially 30-year rates, which reached, I believe it said, a 17-year high on Treasury rates on the 30-year. Bessent announced an upscale buyback operation for the long-term debt, and that's got yields going down. And so that's got the stock market going up, just basically the reverse of what happened yesterday. It's not helping that oil is up a little bit, but it's not hurting that is a fractional move to the upside, very fractional move, and it's not really much different from where it was at as we went into the trading day yesterday. So I mentioned this yesterday. I might have mentioned it the day before as well. I think everyone is just kind of waiting for that next shoe to drop, and it could be that's usually used in a negative connotation, but it could be a good shoe or a bad shoe. We're just kind of waiting to see what happens next in the Iran war situation, the Strait of Hormuz, and getting that open. And I tell you, oil prices coming down $10-15 a barrel from where they're at right now would be a huge boon to this market. I mentioned at the beginning of this month, and here we are 2.5 weeks into the month, but I mentioned at the very beginning of the month that if you saw those oil prices really come down sharply, you could see a very strong August, where it is traditionally one of the worst months in the year for the stock market. You could see the reverse of that and see it in a big way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right. Part of the reason I'm starting early today is I've got three collar trades I want to go through, the adjustments that we made. I just want to quickly show you what we did, tell you why we did that, and kind of what the next step is potentially on any of and all these collar trades. And then Unfortunately, I've got a dentist appointment to get a crown repaired, crown that I've had for a number of years that's got to get fixed. And the only time my dentist could get me in was an early appointment this morning. So I'm going to be recording this. I'm going to be hurrying and getting this online. Then I'm going to be gone for an hour and a half or so. Then I'll be back and in front of the computer for most of the rest of the day. So let's start with Applied Digital. We rolled both our calls and our puts. I've got that should actually be yesterday's date on there. I have to fix that on all of these. I have to fix this. I made these adjustments at the end of the day yesterday. I just, in my mind, for some reason, yesterday was the 17th, even though it was actually the 18th. But here's what we've got. We rolled our short calls from the January 15th calls that were at a 45 strike. Let me get my pen back up here. And we rolled them. We left them in January 2027 and just rolled them down from 45 strike to a 40 strike. Picked up a nice little credit there, about a 95-cent credit, I believe, 85-cent credit, something like that. Then we closed our long puts that were still worth $2.06 and only paid $2.05 because we moved them out a month and moved them down closer to the money. Our long puts were in the money a little bit, which kept some value in them. So we were able to do this entire adjustment on Applied Digital with a little bit of credit, not a lot, but a little bit of credit. And Applied Digital, I don't believe they are set to have a big move at the open this morning. 33 cents to the upside. You should be, if you didn't do this yesterday already, you should be able to do it for pretty close to the same price. It shouldn't be a lot different. Moving along, our Nvidia trade. Nvidia was a little bit easier. We've had a couple of expiring short puts one that we rolled out for some credit, one that expired last week on Friday. Um, so we took our long puts that unfortunately had very little value left in them. We took these long puts right here, and same thing. I've got the wrong dates in here. I think I even sent out on the adjustment PDFs. I think I put the 17th on all of those, and they're all for the 18th, obviously. But and today is the 19th, just so we're all on the same page there. But we got a little bit back on those long puts, and we just rolled out to the 215 strikes that expire next month also. Nvidia's got their earnings coming up. That 215 puts us relatively close to the money. Nvidia is up a little bit today, up a couple dollars a share. If you haven't done this already, you could do the 220 puts. I think they would cost you a little bit more, but not a lot more, but you'd be protected right up there a little bit closer to where the stock is actually trading. So it might not be a bad idea to do Nvidia at 220 if you did not already do it yesterday. So that was a very simple adjustment. We'll probably adjust Nvidia again um, shortly after their earnings, depending on what's happening and what direction they're going. I've got high expectations for Nvidia. I hope I'm right on that. I hope we see them really take off to the upside. The last adjustment we made was for Uber. This one was relatively simple. The short calls were the October 16th 85 strike calls. They had a little value left in them. We bought to close those. We opened the 1120 and we moved from an 85 to an 80 strike price. And then the long puts only had a little bit of value in them, 58 cents a share. We just rolled those out 1 month to the September 18th. A lot of our expiring options now, a lot of our expiring long options on these trades are set up for the 18th of September. So we'll make adjustments as we get a little bit closer to that, depending on whether stocks have gone up or down in that time. Last thing I need to tell you as it relates to collar trade is I went ahead and liquidated Snap. Once again, I put the wrong date on that by a date, but yesterday, a little bit before the market closed, I exited my entire Snap position. It's profitable. It's not by a lot, but it's enough that I did not want to hang around in this trade anymore. Snap has been, in my opinion, an underperformer. I'm glad we've made some profit in it. Some of you have held Snap for a long time, but even though this looks like a chart with a lot of movement, keep in mind that's $6.20 right there, and that's $4.40 right there. And it's spent so much time in a fairly small range. Now I realize from a percentage standpoint that's not a super small range, but it's hard to trade the options on this. They can have big moves really fast and they can sit flat for a little while. They sat flat right there for a while, flat there for a little bit. I'm ready to move on to something else. So I liquidated everything in Snap, and I'll be looking to add a new collar trade somewhere in the next week to maybe week and a half at the very most. And so I wanted to bring you up to date on all of those collar trades, and that's why I wanted to give myself some extra time so that I could do that and still make it to the dentist appointment that I've got to get to. I don't have to run right out the door when I finish this, but I'll have just enough time to put this recording up on the web page for everyone, and then be moving along. Futures, it looks like, are in the 8.5 minutes or so that I have been online. I guess 9 minutes I've been online. Futures staying pretty steady. That's pretty much where everything was 8 or 9 minutes ago. That Treasury yield is really down a lot. That Treasury yield that I was talking down on the 30-year, 8.2 basis points, I think is how they say it. It's a big move down on those rates, and so that's hopefully will carry the day and keep things moving in an upside. Again, this is all futures, and we're still about 30 seconds from the market opening, but Amazon looks like it's going to be up at the open, Google down a little bit, Nvidia up, Palantir up, and SanDisk having a sizable move to the upside for the open. Scratched my head all day yesterday with that SanDisk move. I never was panicked. I'm looking at a technical chart. Even though that was a big move to the downside, it was only a little bit more than what the upside move was the day before, and not equal to what the 2 days prior were. So it took our trade out of the money, but not in some crazy, ugly, awful way. And our trade actually, my SanDisk trade actually remained profitable, even though SanDisk was selling off like that. The mid price on my trade was still positive from where I had opened it. So the market is officially open. You might have heard it there. I'll give you just a quick preview of what our stocks are doing, meaning the companies that we trade regularly. Amazon up almost $3 a share right out of the gate. Google down about $1.50. Nvidia up a couple of dollars right out of the gate. Palantir up $1.75. Red Cat down a little bit. That's a longer term trade, so I'm not too worried about Red Cat. SanDisk up about $50 a share. It was 65 or $70 a share pre-market, but still that moves all of our options all the way back in the money and by a good $50 in the money. So we're looking good there. Google now down only about 50 cents. It might get swept up in the euphoria of a climbing market, and you might see Google move to the upside today. I would really love to see that. So only been open for a minute and a few seconds, but there's your actual open. Dow up about $1.65, S&P up 32, and the Nasdaq up about $1. So good start to the day. We'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that it continues through the day. And like I said, I'm going to be running right now. That's why I started a little bit early, but I will be back in front of the computer in about hour and a half, 2 hours, and we'll be here for the day. Continue to work on stuff. So have a good rest of your day. Jeff, I know you just got on. I put on Discord a little while ago that I started early today because of an appointment I have coming up very shortly. So I started a little bit early and knew that I would go a little bit into the open, but not very much. So I'll get the recording up for you as quickly as I can. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.